this world, there's one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos. And this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, terrific Sports Tuesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Tuesday morning, the world of sports is alive. And we are going to get to all the big stories, including how and why the Boston Red Sox got it right yesterday at the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Everybody bitching and moaning and saying the Red Sox gave up too much for Adley Rutschman. I am going to deliver you what you desperately need, a clue, as we talk about the Red Sox a little later in the show. We will stay in the American League East, and I will tell everybody, as a Yankee fan, how I think the Yankees got it right. And 99% of Yankee fans won't agree with me, and the proof will be in the pudding come this October, when I expect the Yankees to win the American League pennant and go to the World Series. Also, it's August 4th. We are in the thick of fantasy football season. And your boy, Nick Kostos, I do it every single summer. I have ranked my top 12 players in fantasy football for this year, and I can't wait to share it with all of you as we move along. Our bets for tonight will close the show in the final hour in the Power Hour. The phone number, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, THEKOSTOS, and you can follow me on all social platforms @thekostos, THEKOSTOS. But we officially begin the terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet with a big-time contract extension in the National Football League. Had planned on leading the show today with the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We didn't get anything totally earth-shattering yesterday. That, of course, was the Tarek Skubal trade finalized on Saturday night from the Tigers to the Dodgers. By the way, Tarek Skubal starting tonight for the Dodgers at Wrigley against the Chicago Cubs, looking to end the Dodgers' 4-game losing streak. How's that for a stopper for the Los Angeles Dodgers? Just the reigning two-time defending Cy Young Award winner in the American League, Tarek Skubal. So we were going to lead with the trade deadline, but then we got this huge piece of news about a half hour ago in the National Football League as the Atlanta Falcons and star running back Bijan Robinson, who has been holding in at training camp, as has Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. We'll get to him coming up in a little bit. Bijan and Gibbs have both been holding in, both looking for new contracts from their respective teams. This morning, Bijan Robinson, the first domino to fall, 3 years, up to $75 million, $51 million guaranteed, and at least for a few hours, I'm expecting the Jahmyr Gibbs deal to get done sooner rather than later, now that the Bijan Robinson deal is done. So for now, like literally maybe only for a couple hours, maybe less, maybe more, Bijan Robinson becomes the highest paid running back in the history of the National Football League. In short order, I'm expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to become the highest paid running back in the history of the National Football League. So Bijan is expected to practice today with the Atlanta Falcons. And obviously, this is a signing that team president Matt Ryan, who's basically the general manager as well, and new team GM Ian Cunningham, who's working below Matt Ryan, this is a move that they absolutely had to make. Bijan Robinson, you don't need me to tell you this. There are some things I say on the show where I will make it clear. Like I'm in the weeds, so you, the listener and viewer, don't have to be. I'm guessing that this is something that we all know. As huge football fans, we love fantasy football. Bijan Robinson is one of the best, and I'm going to use this term instead of running back because I feel like it's appropriate. One of the best offensive weapons in the National Football League, regardless of position. A running back with silky smooth hands who can catch the ball out of the backfield, can catch the ball going down the field, and obviously has the speed-power combination to break a long run at any period of time, at any point in the game. An absolute stud. A no-brainer move for Matt Ryan, Ian Cunningham, and the Atlanta Falcons. And since Matt Ryan took over as the boss in Atlanta and Ian Cunningham becomes the GM, the Falcons have extended Bijan, extended Drake London, and extended Kyle Pitts. The foundational pieces at the skill positions for this Atlanta Falcons offense. And now, not that I expected anything different. I felt like and I said it when we first came on the show and reported that Bijan and Gibbs were holding in. Like they're going to get new contracts. It's going to happen. So I expected this to happen with Bijan Robinson. But now that it has happened, we can really start projecting what this is going to look like for the Atlanta Falcons. And I've talked a decent amount about the Falcons as of late. Because when I go on to BetMGM, our show sponsor, and I take a look, because I am a betting man, as you know, and I take a look at divisional odds or, award markets, win totals, there are a couple of prices that I really like. I've talked about the Minnesota Vikings, right? That I think Minnesota's going to win the NFC North. Minnesota's a long shot price to win the division. I also feel that way about the NFC South, where at BetMGM, the Atlanta Falcons are plus 375, the longest shot to win this division. And I totally disagree with that. As it stands right now, I think the Atlanta Falcons will win the NFC South this year. And the Atlanta Falcons will host probably one of three teams and get destroyed on Wild Card Weekend. Either the Rams, the Seahawks, or the Niners. Like the second place team, just like lock it up right now. Second place team in the NFC West destroys NFC South champion on Wild Card Weekend. We can just set that up, lock it up right now. That's what's going to happen coming up in January. But I do think it'll be Bijan Robinson and the Falcons. Not Baker Mayfield, his contract dispute, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not Bryce Young. Is he going to get extended or not? They've got quarterback drama as well, as far as Bryce Young is concerned. Nick Scorton out for the year. Not the Carolina Panthers. And I'm super into the New Orleans Saints and what Kellen Moore is building there as the head coach of the team. And Tyler Shuck and this young offense. Jordan Tyson. They just extended Chris Olave. I've got excitement about the Saints. And if I'm wrong, by the way, about the NFC South, and it's not Atlanta, I do think it'll be New Orleans. So I think New Orleans does have that kind of upside. I think the Saints are probably a year early on that. I can be wrong, and we'll find out quickly if that's the case. But my sense is that New Orleans is a little early on its trajectory to win this division. But again, if I'm wrong, I do think it'll be the Saints, not the Panthers, and not the Bucs. But I'm in on Atlanta. I'm in on Atlanta in this division. And it's not just because Bijan Robinson is one of the best running backs in the league, although it obviously matters. It's not just because Drake London is one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, even though he is. And it's not just because Kyle Pitts had his breakout season last year, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to absolutely beast this year in Kevin Stefanski's offense. It's because I think they'll get above average play at the quarterback position. as long as Tua Tagovailoa is the quarterback. Now, Tua is dealing with the back injury, right? We told you last week that he left practice. Jack Strand, undrafted rookie free agent, was taking the number 1 reps at Falcons camp, and he has taken a lot of those number 1 reps as Cooper Rush, who was signed, gets a little bit up to speed in the offense. Michael Penix won't be cleared probably for another 4 weeks, and Tua is nursing this back injury. But I think it's important to remember this about Tua Tagovailoa because of the way things ended in Miami for Tua. I am never going to come on this show or any show or like privately say to anybody, because I don't believe it, that Tua Tagovailoa is Dan Marino or Steve Young or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. He's not. He's not an elite quarterback. And this is not meant to be an insult. He's filthy rich, God bless him. He's never going to be an elite quarterback. But he doesn't suck. He does not suck. And because of how things ended in Miami, and because the contract was so, am I pronouncing this word correctly? I see it written onerous. I think I have that right. I'm using it correctly. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Because the contract was such an albatross slung around the team's collective neck, the fact that the Dolphins literally, like their dead cat money is insane this year. Like basically Jeff Bezos' net worth is the Miami Dolphins' dead cat money this year. They had to pay Tua to go away. I think this narrative has started to be built that Tua Tagovailoa is no good. And I don't think that's the case. Now again, listen to what I'm saying. He's not elite. He's not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But he also doesn't stink. And as the trigger man in a Kevin Stefanski offense, and remember, I'm a Giants fan. Am I happy with the John Harbaugh hire? Reasonably. But if you'll recall, I'm on record saying it. I wanted Kevin Stefanski to coach the Giants. I think Kevin Stefanski is an awesome coach. And if Tua is going to be the trigger man in this Stefanski offense with these weapons, right? With Bijan, monster out of the backfield. Drake London's a monster. I think we can say Kyle Pitts is a monster after how he played last year. And again, think about how Stefanski uses tight ends. I'm expecting Kyle Pitts to have a big year. I think the Falcons are going to score points this year. There's been an underreported Atlanta Falcons story on offense this offseason that I think is worth your attention. Do you know who the Atlanta Falcons offensive line coach is this season? Off the top of your head, do you know who it is? You probably don't. I don't mean that as an insult. It's a pretty in-the-weeds thing, right, to know. It's Bill Callahan. Widely regarded, who, yes, coached the Raiders to their Super Bowl loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2002. Yes. Bill Callahan is one of the best regarded, well thought of offensive line coaches and gurus in the history of the National Football League. He was with his son Brian last year, who was a disaster, obviously, as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. But now he's no longer with his son, and he's the offensive line coach for Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. And I'm expecting this Falcons offensive line to be pretty good this year. What the Falcons need is for Jawan Taylor, who's the prospective starter at right tackle, formerly of the Chiefs. Can he be decent? Because I think the rest of this line is good. Jake Matthews, it seems like, has been the left tackle since George W. Bush was in office. They just gave Matthew Bergeron a ton of money at left guard. Chris Lindstrom's a stud right guard. Like, this offensive line's going to be good, and Callahan's a really good coach. And you protect Tua, and you give Tua some time to throw the football to 3 fantastic weapons and hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson. I think they're going to score some points. Now, we need to pass along big-time condolences to Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. And I don't even like to say things like this out loud because, just a reminder of the fragility of life and that, nothing is guaranteed ever. And I have a wife and I have a kid, and it's just like, you can't even imagine things like this. Jeff Ulbrich's wife, Christina, just recently passed away due to a battle with cancer. And Ulbrich is away from the team right now, but he's expected to. I don't know if he's even expected to return. Honestly, I don't know if I would return. I might just peace out if something like that happened to me. I'm just being honest with everybody. We hope that the Ulbrich family finds peace, obviously. There's nothing to even say about it, right? You keep them in your thoughts and hope that, his kids and him, that they're able to move forward and honor her life in theirs. Jeff Ulbrich, for what it's worth, is expected back to coordinate the defense this year in Atlanta. And because I said it when the announcement was made, that the Falcons were going to retain Ulbrich, with Kevin Stefanski coming in as the head coach. He could have sought out a new defensive coordinator, someone he wants to hire. He retained Ulbrich. And that's an awesome move because Jeff Ulbrich is a really good defensive coordinator. Now, I really want to know, and I feel like we're not going to know for a little bit, if James Pierce, the troubled, I think is a fair word to describe him, second-year pass rusher who really burst onto the scene last year and played really well for the Falcons, getting after the opposing quarterback's ass. We don't know if he's going to get suspended for this year, for a part of this year. We don't know. For off-field issues this offseason. And that kind of stuff has kind of plagued him throughout his football career. If Pierce is going to play for most of this season, he's really, really good. That matters a lot. Along with Jalen Walker, who was one of the other first-round picks last year, edge rusher, right? I like Jalen Walker. I like some of the names in the secondary. A.J. Terrell, Billy Bowman, Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts. This is a good secondary for Atlanta. And if these young pass rushers can come to play, I think the Falcons are the best team in this division. Now, it's worth noting, if you put Atlanta in the NFC West, the NFC East, or the NFC North, they wouldn't sniff the postseason. So none of this is to say Atlanta's great shakes are they'll win a playoff game. I don't think they will. But in that division, with Tampa currently dealing with a Baker Mayfield problem, right? With Baker outright saying, I'm disrespected by the team. Couldn't come to an agreement on a contract extension. Feels like we may be headed towards a collision course to the franchise tag next year. How's this going to go? Baker can say whatever he wants to the media about how this is not going to be a distraction, and I believe him when he says he's going to play with a gigantic chip on his shoulder. I believe that. I do. But the idea that this isn't going to be a distraction for the team is nonsense. Because we know how the media works, right? If Baker gets off to a scintillating start, let's say the Bucs are 4-0, I'm making this up, 4-0, and Baker's in the MVP, it's early in the year, right? And Baker's in the MVP race, in MVP consideration. You don't think they can try and shut it down as best they can? You don't think that all these players are going to be asked about it? What's up with Baker and his contract? And they can say, you know what, it's not my job, ask the front office. They're going to get asked about it constantly. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I guarantee it. What's the argument against it? Todd Bowles is still the coach. And I do like new Bucs offensive coordinator, formerly of the Falcons, Zach Robinson. I've been reading it. They've been doing interesting things with Kenny Gainwell, using him as just strictly as a receiver out of the backfield. I think their offense has a chance to be good. The line is awesome. Emeka Egbuka should have a really nice year, even with no Mike Evans. If Chris Godwin, what can he give you here in year 10? Jalen McMillan, rookie Ted Hurst. The Bucs offense can be good. If in order for the team to be good, they got to eliminate the distractions, and you need Reuben Bain to be a monster rushing the passer in year 1. And maybe it happens. I feel better about the Falcons. The Carolina Panthers losing Nick Kostos, I feel, is a massive deal. I think it's a huge deal for this team. And the Panthers keep talking, and to be fair, I agree with them, this hypothetical upside and ceiling for Bryce Young. There have been moments where Bryce Young has been spectacular, right, for the Carolina Panthers. He played really well in the wild card loss to the LA Rams. Panthers almost beat the Rams in that game. I actually think Tua Tagovailoa, maybe Tua doesn't have as high a ceiling as Bryce Young. I think Tua's floor is higher than Bryce Young's. And give Kevin Stefanski or Dave Canales, I'll take Kevin Stefanski. And again, I think the Saints are a little early here for prime time. Next year, they keep up on this trajectory, we can have that conversation for sure. Right now, though, plus 375 for the Atlanta Falcons to win the NFC South just feels wrong. Can they get solid play at right tackle? Can Tua Tagovailoa win this job and be the starting quarterback this season? Is James Pierce going to play more than half the year? If the answers to these questions are yes, the Falcons are going to win the division. and are currently the longest shot to do so. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Thus far, and hiring Kevin Stefanski, it's early. No games have been played. But thus far, Matt Ryan doing a bang-up job as the boss of the Atlanta Falcons. We're just getting started here on a Tuesday. You better you bet Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. So Bijan Robinson, he's got his deal. He's got his money. On the other side, we'll talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to get his money as early as today. We'll talk about the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about a big injury in the Chicago Bears secondary and compare those two teams, Lions and Bears. Oh my. Keep it locked right here. Do you better you bet.
Here's Gibbs on first down. Jahmyr Gibbs across midfield. One man to beat. Inside the 20, the 10. Touchdown on the first play from scrimmage. In overtime.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Oh, King Kenny Albert on the call. Football's almost here when you hear the voice of King Kenny Albert. This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. We'll talk some fantasy football in a little bit with Bijan Robinson signing his extension. I'm expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to sign in short order, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but that's going to happen. Now that Bijan has reset the market, Jahmyr Gibbs will get a little bit more, I'm sure, and they will both be signed. Why is that important for fantasy football? Because in case you've been living under a rock, which I guess most people do, I guess not in this regard. Not everybody's like me, paying attention to the comings and goings of the National Football League 365 days a year. So in case you are just getting in tune with fantasy football ahead of your home league drafts, Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to be the first and second picks in whatever order, whichever guy you prefer. I have a strong preference as to which guy I like of those two. I'll share that with you coming up in a little bit. So this is big, not just for real life, but for you and your fantasy teams as well, because Bijan and Gibbs will be the first and second picks of basically every fantasy football draft. And this gives us an opportunity to discuss the Detroit Lions in the NFC North with another NFC North team, the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears are in the news today because we have confirmation on the injury for free agent safety acquisition from the Seattle Seahawks, Kobe Bryant. And we told you yesterday, and this is you were on the air until noon, and sometimes news breaks right after we're off the air. We don't talk about it again until the next morning. Kobe Bryant was carted out of practice yesterday. You expect the worst when you see things like that, maybe out for the year. The news is not great for Kobe Bryant and the Bears, but it's not the worst case scenario. He's going to miss 8 to 10 weeks and will probably be back somewhere in between week 3 and 5 of the regular season for Dennis Allen and that defense, for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. And that sucks for the Bears, right? Because the expectation was that Kobe Bryant and first-round safety Dylan Thieneman were going to form this new safety tandem back end of the defense for Dennis Allen and company. And with the Bears' pass rush looking pretty lackluster on paper, maybe the secondary could be good enough to at least cover some people and cover some receivers and cover some tight ends and give a substandard pass rush a little bit of time to get home. And now without Kobe Bryant, obviously that's going to become a little harder. And the Chicago Bears right now are being thought of nationally, right, by a lot of people. And we do this every year with a bunch of teams. If you'll recall, last summer, the regression candidate in the NFL. And when people say regression candidate, the thought, basically what that means, a team that overperforms expectation the year before, and you can actually quantify potential luck. What happened in one-score games? Were there a bunch of comebacks pulled out of the derriere at the ends of games? Were there more turnovers forced than average, than normal? The Chicago Bears check a lot of these boxes in the same way the Washington Commanders did last offseason after making the NFC Championship game heading into year 2 of Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. That does not mean the Bears are going to miss the playoffs and that this is going to be a disaster this year in Chicago. But you know who is aware of the talk and the conjecture around the Bears potentially coming back down to earth this offseason? That would be head coach Ben Johnson. Listen to this exchange recently at Hallis Hall between a reporter in Chicago and Bears head coach Ben Johnson.
I'm curious what you think about another coach throwing his name out there and whether you're dealing with the opposite situation here of hammering to your guys not to believe the hype.
Well, we're the number one regression candidates, so I think we got plenty of motivation ourselves. We talked about Caleb in the past. He's used to handling a lot of attention, so I'm not worried about that.
I love that from Ben Johnson. And just so people know what the genesis of that question is, Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen, who Liam Cohen's hilarious. Like, Liam Cohen can't help himself. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. He can't help but aggravate other coaches in the NFL. Think about what happened with Robert Saleh last year, right? When Saleh's the defensive coordinator of the Niners. And how juicy that meant. They're going to face each other twice a year now, right? So Liam Cohen's asked about, Trevor Lawrence this year, you being overlooked. And he's basically like, oh, I don't hear anyone talk about Trevor Lawrence. All I hear is people talk about Caleb Williams. Like, why does Liam Cohen have to say that? He can't help himself. And I love it about him, someone that does sports content. So that's the genesis of the question. Another coach talking about Caleb Williams. That's where that comes from. So Ben Johnson is hyper aware, right, of the talk around his team. And just so people know this, like how I mean this as a compliment, how psychotic Ben Johnson is. Ben Johnson absolutely is paying attention to the national discourse. Absolutely. And beyond that, deeper than that, he's kind of in the weeds, has to be, with football stats and advanced numbers, analytics, because, like, I don't mean this as an insult, but you're probably not going to turn on, like, one of the, like, talk debate shows on TV, and they're going to be talking about, like, regression in terms of like, it's generally not what happens, right? It's a little deeper. Not meant to be an insult. I think it's just the truth, though, right? So Ben Johnson is very aware of what's going on here, and the term regression being thrown around. Now, I think it's fair to say that you could talk about positive regression as well and associate positive regression with Dan Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the Detroit Lions, who will play. Remember, the Lions came in last year in the NFC North, so have an easier schedule by virtue of that, right? Where you can say, big-time bounce-back year coming for the Detroit Lions. And to be fair, the Lions' offense this year has the potential to be redonkulous. Like, ridiculously awesome. I'm not even sure. Like, let's say new offensive coordinator in Detroit, Drew Petzing, who was formerly the offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals. Even if Drew Petzing is a total disaster, I still don't think the offense is going to be bad. There are just too many good players. Now it requires a little projection, right? Penei Sewell kicking over to left tackle. You think he'll be great there. And by you, I mean the royal you. I think so also. Rookie Blake Miller will start on the right. Let's assume he's at least decent. My guess would be you get better interior play, especially with the guards, right? With Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany, where I think the offensive line could be nasty again for Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, monster. Jamison Williams, stud. Jahmyr Gibbs, the number one pick in fantasy football drafts. Isaac Tesla. Remember they traded up for him last year? All the highlight catches, the touchdown grabs. He's going to be their third receiver this year. And Sammy Laporta in a Drew Petzing offense. Think about what Petzing did with Trey McBride. And Petzing's a Stefanski guy. One of the reasons why I like Kyle Pitts this year, right? Now Drew Petzing, with what he did with Trey McBride, now Petzing comes to Detroit. You don't think Sam Laporta's smashing this year? And that Jared Goff's going to have a big statistical year as the trigger man in this offense? I think it's absolutely the case for Detroit. Where I have issues, though, you bet on this Tuesday, Nick Kostos and Westwood One Sports. Where I have issues with Detroit this season, the defensive side of the ball. And this is where I feel like Detroit and Chicago mirror each other a little bit in the NFC North, where Detroit's a little bit more of a proven commodity on offense in terms of the players, but you can easily tell yourself a story that the Bears' offense is even better this year than it was last year, and it may not even be close. With all the hype and pub around Caleb Williams, year 2 in Ben Johnson's system, Ben Johnson has literally said that Luther Burden, last year's second-round pick, reminds him of a young Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he is probably the most qualified person in the world to offer that assessment, given that A, he's coached Luther Burden his entire NFL career, and B, was with Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit at the beginning of his career. Think about that. If Luther Burden's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I'm not a huge Rome Odunze guy, but like Odunze, I think he's the second receiver on this team, and Burden's going to be the number one. But Odunze is not a bad second receiver. Not bad at all. Khalif Raymond's probably going to be the third receiver. He comes over from Detroit, where Ben Johnson obviously knows him. And they have two really good tight ends in Cole Kmet. And Colston Loveland's upside, remember, the 10th overall pick in last year's draft? Colston Loveland's upside is to be the best tight end in the NFL this season. It's in the range of outcomes. So the Bears' offense, I think, is going to be awesome. I don't think the Bears' offense is going to regress. Now, we can poke some holes in the Bears' offensive line. What's going to happen at center? Garrett Bradbury, rookie Logan Jones with Drew Dahlman retiring. What about left tackle? Just Braxton Jones again for Chicago. There are holes you can poke in the offense and the offensive line for the Bears. But ultimately, I have faith in Ben Johnson to figure it out. The bugaboos for both Chicago and Detroit will be on defense. And to be fair, the Lions have the best player on either defense in Aiden Hutchinson. The Bears' Aiden Hutchinson is Montez Sweat, who is, to put it lightly, not as good as Aiden Hutchinson. But I have to admit, when I think about these two teams and their respective foibles, I personally am more willing to err on the side of the Chicago Bears rather than the Detroit Lions. And the reason why, even if, and you know this is true because you've listened to the show, you've watched the show, and if you haven't, go back and look at my tweets, whatever you want to do. I'm not lying about this. I love Dan Campbell. I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan. I think he's an awesome head coach. I would love for the Giants, my favorite team, to have Dan Campbell coaching them. I really would. But if you're going to make me choose, I don't like to say this because I love Dan Campbell. But if you're going to make me choose, and there's some projection required here, right? I am projecting. I am putting my finger on the scale based on my personal bias, which we all do. I'm being honest about it. My opinion, I think I'm going to be right, is that Ben Johnson is one of, quote unquote, those coaches. I believe that by season's end this year, this does not mean the Bears are going to the Super Bowl or will win it. I think the defense needs way more work before we have that conversation. But by the time we get to the end of this season, we will have Ben Johnson's name mentioned in the same rarefied air as Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid. That's his upside. That's the upside here for the offensive visionary Ben Johnson, for piss and vinegar Ben Johnson. I think he's the best. I love Ben Johnson. And Dennis Allen might be one of the worst head coaches in the history of the NFL. I believe that that's true. He is one of the worst head coaches ever. He a damn good defensive coordinator. He is. I trust the Bears coaching staff more than I trust the Lions coaching staff. And when it's all said and done, I'm expecting the Chicago Bears to be a playoff team again this year out of the NFC North. And I believe when it's all said and done, even if Jahmyr Gibbs should be the first overall pick in fantasy drafts, even if Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have 100-plus catches again, even if Jamison Williams takes the leap, even if Sam Laporta returns to the form that he showed his rookie season, even if all of those things are true, even if Penei Sewell is a stud at left tackle and Blake Miller holds it together at right tackle, I think the Lions will be on the outside looking in of the postseason yet again. Can the regular season just get here, please? I am so ready for regular season football. And I'm also ready. And I've been ready. Because, we talked about it on the show. Back in April after the NFL draft, what are we doing on the show? Me, our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, our tactical director, Tyler Morales. We're doing rookie dynasty drafts because we, #love this bleep. So I'm always ready for fantasy. And on the other side, I am going to roll through my top 12 in fantasy football this year. For your reference, in your home leagues, in your home drafts, That's coming up next on You Better You Bet. Baseball in hour number 2. Keep it locked here on Westwood One Sports.
Here's Robinson, right side. Nice cutback. He's gone. Can anybody catch him? Not tonight. McCreary chasing. Won't get there. Touchdown, Atlanta. 93 yards.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Oh, poor Roger McCreary. Remember that Monday Night Football game, end of the year? Falcons beat the Rams? Fun stuff. Joe Buck and company, courtesy of the Call on ESPN. Today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, which I did not do last night, my Yankees-Astros parlay. I kind of feel like when you have a parlay and every leg loses, you should get some of your money back, but my sense is that a lot of operators and bookies will disagree. But if you win the wager that was made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Lions head coach Dan Campbell was just asked at training camp if the Bijan Robinson extension would hurt the extension talks for Jahmyr Gibbs, which is the wrong question. The question should be, is the deal for Jahmyr going to get done today or tomorrow? And now that this has been said, that Bijan set the market, Jahmyr Gibbs will make a little bit more, we all know how this is going to go. So today is August 4th. So most of us, there are psychos like me who've been doing drafts all summer, but most of us will have fantasy drafts for our home leagues with friends, people we went to college with, grew up with, whatever, coworkers. Those drafts are coming up in short order. So I have ranked my top 12 players in fantasy football this season. And this will be half-point PPR, which is, I think, the standard now. It's no longer standard, meaning no points per reception. I think PPR, points per reception, is probably, like, if I could choose my ideal method, half-point PPR I think is perfect, where you reward pass-catching running backs and receivers a little bit more than running backs that don't catch the ball. That, I think, is the perfect method of fantasy football. So here are my top 12 players in order. Now, again, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson will be the first and second picks of any fantasy football draft. And if they're not, like, your league is making a mistake. If you're picking third, and for some reason Gibbs or Bijan makes it to you, you make that pick instantaneously. You don't even think about it. So if you have the first pick, you're going to have to make a choice, right? Which of these two do you prefer? I prefer Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit because I think this Lions offense is more likely to smash than the Falcons offense. Now, I know I picked Atlanta to make the playoffs, and Detroit I currently have on the outside looking in, but Atlanta plays in the NFC South. If Detroit played in the NFC South, they could win 13 games, but they play in the NFC North. So a slight lean for me towards Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson. So any league I'm in where I have the first overall pick, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs. And if you have the second pick, you just take whoever the person that picked first did not take. So Gibbs, Bijan, 1-2 for me. At 3, because I think he has more touchdown equity, like I think he'll catch more touchdowns this season, because Puka Nacua is an absolute monster, right? And I'm talking on the field. The Rams have Devontae Adams, red zone target extraordinaire. Jamar Chase is the guy in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow. I prefer Chase to Puka, even if I think Puka will catch more passes. I think Chase will catch more touchdowns. So I have Jamar Chase 3rd, Puka Nacua 4th. And I think for most fantasy football, not that I'm an expert, but if you look at most like expert rankings, talk to people that do this for a living, those will be the top 4 players, right, in whatever order. Probably the 2 running backs in whatever order, whoever you like most. And then if you like Chase or Nacua more, that'll be 3rd and 4th. Here's where I start to get a little wacky and where my personal rankings will deviate from a lot of what the experts will say, which doesn't mean I'm right. Just my opinion, right? We're all welcome to our opinions. Just like I used to have a boss who used to say, we're all television experts because we've all been watching TV our entire lives. Like, we're all huge football fans. We can all have, even if we don't get paid, we can all have our opinions on what's going to happen in fantasy football and in the NFL. I generally break ties with running backs early in fantasy. So at 5, there's a bit of a curveball here. Give me Christian McCaffrey, 5th overall. And I know probably injury risk, right? Maybe the only Niner who played all year last year. And like, what a thing that is to say, given CMC's injury history. If he's healthy, he's going to absolutely annihilate. He's going to be amazing. Give me CMC at 5. I am going to bank at 6 on Kyler Murray playing this year for the Minnesota Vikings. And if Kyler Murray's the quarterback this year for Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, I think, needs to be the next player off the board. So I'm not worried about J.J. McCarthy. I think he's terrible. I think there's a better chance J.J. McCarthy's on another team to start the regular season than he is starting for the Vikings week 1, Sunday, September 13th at home against the Green Bay Packers. Justin Jefferson, 6th. JSN at 7 from the Seattle Seahawks, obviously. A little concern for me with Clint Kubiak now in Vegas. Brian Fleury, the new offensive coordinator in Seattle. But, I mean, the blueprint has basically been laid out for JSN, who is the reigning offensive player of the year, and I think will have a great season catching the ball from Sam Darnold in the Seahawks offense. JSN next up. I have 3 running backs in a row following JSN in this order. Jonathan Taylor from the Colts. And I think the Colts' upside is to score 1 billion points this year. Love Jonathan Taylor. Kenneth Walker next from the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid keeps talking about at Chiefs training camp about how they're going to use him in the passing game, and the Seahawks didn't. He's not insulting Seattle. He's just saying they didn't do it. They also won the Super Bowl last year. And they're going to use Kenneth Walker's going to be an every down running back for Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs offense. I have James Cook next. I think we'll see more Ray Davis this year in Buffalo and probably more throwing the ball from Josh Allen with Joe Brady taking over. So a little bit of a downgrade for James Cook, but he's still in my top 10. At 11, another member of the Lions offense, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who should catch 130 passes this year from Jared Goff. And I debated at 12, Brock Bowers, the next big thing, or Saquon Barkley. I can't wait to talk more about the Eagles over the course of this summer. I am buying stock in Sean Mannion, Jalen Hurts, and this new Eagles offense. And my sense is we get a closer Saquon Barkley year to 2024 than we did a season ago. Saquon Barkley, my 12th overall player in fantasy football this year. Hour 1 done. Hour 2 for you. Coming up on the other side, we will get to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Yankees, Red Sox, Padres, Skubal, and more. Coming up next on Westwood One Sports.
the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The terrific Sports Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you, here on Westwood One Sports. Man, this first hour of the show, Bijan Robinson contract extension with the Falcons. I love it for Atlanta. I love it for Bijan. And assuming Tua Tagovailoa is the Falcons' starting quarterback to begin this season, not Michael Penix Jr., if it's Tua, I have the Falcons winning the NFC South. And Atlanta currently the longest shot at BetMGM to do that, plus 375 the Falcons are to win the NFC South this year. I think that happens with Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts. If Tua's the quarterback, I love Kevin Stefanski. I think this Falcons defense has some upside. I want James Pierce to play at least half the year. We'll see about that. But I'm liking the Atlanta Falcons right now. Not as far as winning a Super Bowl, but to win a bad division and host a game on Wild Card weekend. So Bijan gets his extension with the Falcons, which means Jahmyr Gibbs is on deck with the Detroit Lions to sign his extension. And we paired that news with the Kobe Bryant news in Chicago that the Bears safety, free agent acquisition from the Seahawks, Kobe Bryant, out 8 to 10 weeks, hurting what's an already pretty bad Bears defense. But I still trust Ben Johnson and the Bears more than I trust Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Even if I think both offenses are going to be electric this year, and I do believe that, I trust Ben Johnson more than I trust Dan Campbell. And I think the Bears will be back in the playoffs this year. Regression be damned. And I think the Lions will once again be on the outside looking in. And then I gave you my initial run at my top 12 in fantasy football this year. With Bijan having signed, Gibbs going to sign. They will be the first and second picks in every fantasy football draft. I led you through 1 through 12. Nick Kostos' top 12 players this year in fantasy football. If you missed it, you can find it in podcast form. Bob Nightingale, Odyssey Sports Major League Baseball insider, will join us in about 20 minutes, and I will get to the Major League Baseball trade deadline in a few moments, but wanted to get this news into the show. Per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, who is doing an awesome job throughout training camps, just tweeting out tons of little nuggets and informational pieces from a bunch of different camps. I really, and I mean that, I think he's doing great work. Just tweeted out a bunch of notes about the Washington Commanders. And one of those notes is that they are, quote, monitoring Stephon Diggs as they look to add another receiver. I've been telling you this for how long? That the Commanders need to sign Stephon Diggs. Like, Brandon Ayuk is crazy. And he had been the guy that a lot of people, including me, assumed that the Commanders would just sign once the 49ers cut ties with him. But Ayuk's conduct on social media, and I've spent a lot of time talking about it this summer, has made him toxic to NFL teams. Like feuding with Jaden Daniels, calling out it's not good. To the point that, and remember where Commanders general manager Adam Peters comes from, was in San Francisco prior to going to the Commanders. Adam Peters was basically, it was a pretty funny soundbite recently, where Peters is asked about, do you monitor potential free agents' social media activity? Obviously, the reporter's asking about Ayuk in a clever way. Peters and Dan Quinn both laugh because it's funny, and they know exactly what he's talking about. And Peters goes, yes, we do. AKA, translation, Brandon Ayuk will not be a Commander this year. Now, Dan Quinn, his job is going to be on the line this year in Washington after the way last season went. Replaced both coordinators. David Blau is now going to run the offense, the former quarterback of the Detroit Lions. He's very young, David Bling Blau. And Durante Jones, who is a Brian Flores disciple, comes over from Minnesota to run the defense. The Commanders can't screw around this year. Dan Quinn can't screw around this year. They have to win. They have to win this year. And with their current depth chart at receiver, I want to know how it's going to happen. Yes, Terry McLaurin's a stud, right, as the number one. Who's the number two receiver? And I've done this before on the show, right? It's Treylon Burks, the former first-round pick from Tennessee, from the A.J. Brown trade. What a debacle, trying to resuscitate his career. Luke McCaffrey's there. Yes, Christian's brother and Ed's son. Not as good as those guys. Jalen Lane, De'Ami Brown, what Antonio Williams, who profiles as a slot receiver, mid-round pick this year in the draft. What are you doing? You need an actual legitimate wide receiver, too. And is it possible that one of those names steps up? Yeah, it is possible. But you can't bank on it. We haven't seen it in a year where you have to win. And with IU completely off the reservation, Stephon Diggs is the name that the Commanders need to bring in. And they need to do it yesterday. The fact that Jeremy Fowler is tweeting this, putting it out there, means that maybe it'll happen at some point in the near future. The other team, and we can maybe get to this at a later date, the other team that should really look into signing Stephon Diggs is the Indianapolis Colts. With Alec Pierce currently on the mend after he got that huge contract extension, Michael Pittman, remember, is now in Pittsburgh catching passes from Aaron Rodgers. And while I love Josh Downs and I love Tyler Warren, if Alec Pierce is going to struggle to stay healthy this year, Stephon Diggs should be the guy. And yes, there are some rumors that the Colts will bring in Keenan Allen, obviously the longtime Charger who spent a season in Chicago with the Bears. I'll just say this, and I'd like to find someone who would disagree with this. Who's better right now, Steph Diggs or Keenan Allen? And is it close? Diggs is the better option. So if I'm one of those two teams, Washington or Indy, I'm looking to sign Diggs, and then the other team should look to sign Keenan Allen. That is my guess as to how this will play out over the rest of this offseason as we careen towards the start of the regular season. And just keep in mind, Tyreek Hill is saying that his surgically repaired leg is not healthy yet and that he doesn't have full explosion yet. Tyreek Hill, I firmly believe, will get, maybe not this summer, but he'll get signed at some point this year. Just keep that in mind for potential receiver-needy teams in the National Football League. We'll get back to the NFL next hour on the show when friend of the show, the great Femi Abebefe, joins me here on You Better You Bet. But for now, the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. And I want to start my trade deadline analysis with two teams in the American League. A rivalry renewed. And my guess is, given the fact that Tampa has a nice lead atop the AL East and traded for Liam Hicks to solidify their catcher position, and given a lot of the Yankees' injuries and the fact that the Red Sox are decently far behind both teams, only a couple games back of the Yankees, but 5.5 back of Tampa, my guess is the Tampa Bay Rays will win the American League East, and we will get, for the second straight year, the Yankees and the Red Sox in the wild card series. It makes me, as a Yankee fan, it might be the Greek yogurt that I was eating during the break, which is Greek yogurt's nasty, man. But I'll tell you, a lot of protein, very healthy. So maybe it's just the Greek yogurt, but it makes me physically ill to think about. The stress and the agita that comes from these Yankee Red Sox high leverage games is almost unlike anything that I experience as a sports fan. Obviously, what a great rivalry. I hate the Red Sox, never want to lose to Boston. And I think that these two teams are probably on a collision course to playing in the wild card series. Things can change. That's my best guess right now. And these teams, the Yankees and the Red Sox, had wildly different trade deadline experiences. How about Boston? Embattled general manager Craig Breslow, who has deserved all the criticism that's come his way. We don't have enough time on the show to go through all of Craig Breslow's disastrous moves running the Boston Red Sox. Chris Sale can be chief among them. Obviously, Alex Cora gets fired and he keeps his job. A lot of Red Sox fans were pissed about that. And now, after what Craig Breslow pulled yesterday, trading a haul, I don't know who any of these guys are, these prospects. I don't lie to you, right? But from everything you read and listen to and watch, the Red Sox basically traded 3 potential Hall of Famers to the Orioles for Adley Rutschman. But we have no idea how this is going to work out. But Boston makes the big swing, brings in Adley Rutschman, who probably is no longer on the Cooperstown trajectory that he was on earlier in his career in Baltimore, but is a clear upgrade at that position for the Red Sox. No question about it. He's been on the injured list 3 times this year. He's on the injured list right now, but he's going to be back soon. And just from my perspective, and reasonable minds can disagree, but I think I'm right about this, or else I wouldn't say it. I have been banging the drum for the Red Sox to go all in, to make a huge move, given how well they've played basically since firing Alex Cora. And 15 of 16 wins on the road, first time since 1939, playing themselves into the playoff conversation where I would be shocked if they weren't a playoff team this year. And that I felt like Breslow and company needed to honor the performances of the players on this team, the offense that just mashed the hell out of the Dodgers this weekend in LA by making a big swing. So you can criticize Craig, and I'm not trying to paint Craig Breslow as Theo Epstein here. That's not what this is meant to be. But to everyone who wants Breslow to do something, he did it, and you're still complaining. We have no idea how these prospects are going to turn out. And maybe in 10 years we'll look back and say horrible trade. But I'm going to remain consistent. And I'm going to say what I've been saying. They needed to do something big. They did it. I love it for the Red Sox. I love it for the Red Sox. I think this is an A-plus deadline for the Boston Red Sox. We all get caught up in prospects, right? This theoretical idea of what a player might be. We know Adley Rutschman's good. And we know that the American League is bad this year. And we think Garrett Crochet is going to be on the way back. And how scary is that? With this lineup for the Red Sox. Now you put Rutschman in there. If Crochet comes back, they could win the American League. With the bad AL, they absolutely could. And that factors into the decision to trade for Rutschman and to make some of the other moves that the Red Sox made. I love it for Boston. And I don't want to say that as a Yankee fan. I want them to suck. I'm being honest, right? But they don't. They're good. And I think they made the right moves. You bet on this Tuesday, Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. As for my New York Yankees, Yankees fans, both in the media, and I am one of the Yankee fans in the media, so I don't say that derisively. I am in the media. I am an unabashed Yankee fan. Yankee fans, both in the media and otherwise, are apoplectic, depressed after a relatively quiet trade deadline from Brian Cashman, the GM of the Yankees, and the team. Traded for Luis Garcia over the weekend, and of course, Luis Garcia hits a 2-run homer and last night's Yankee game's hysterical, right, against the Cardinals. Fall behind 6-0, score 7 runs in a row, and the final 2 coming on a go-ahead 2-run homer by new Yankee Luis Garcia. Great call from Fordham's own Ryan Rucco. Welcome to the Bronx, Luis. 2-run homer, Yankees take the lead, and then the Yankee bullpen proceeds to give up 7 runs immediately, and they lose 13-7. Like, you can't make this up as far as the Yankees are concerned. So Luis Garcia is the move this weekend, and then yesterday, Heliot Ramos from the San Francisco Giants, who at worst will provide Aaron Boone with flexibility in terms of his lineups and pinch hitting, etc., and provide the offense some oomph while we wait for Aaron Judge to come back, Giancarlo Stanton to come back, and Cody Bellinger to come back. And that's it. No catcher for the Yankees. Yankee fans have to watch the Red Sox trade for Adley Rutschman instead of their favorite team, the New York Yankees. And Yankees fans are pissed. No arm in the bullpen either. And then Brian Cashman, after the deadline yesterday, gave a very, very interesting quote that you all need to listen to as it concerns the potential return of Yankee star and maybe the best player in baseball, Aaron Judge. Take a listen to Brian Cashman last night on Aaron Judge and his potential return.
It's possible that things don't go the way you want, but we currently are still very optimistic that he's going to return. But there's challenges with all that too. While he's returning, whenever that time frame is, and ramping him up and getting his timing down, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't rule out any of it.
So Cashman says this, and Yankees fans, and I understand why. Yankees fans all react the same way. Aaron Judge isn't coming back. Because Cashman stopped short of saying he's definitely going to be back. Said there are challenges to Judge's potential return. And Judge has not yet begun baseball activities. He's been out since May. So, of course, and Yankees fans, and I'm one of them, right? We are conditioned recently over the last 15 years to pessimism. 15 plus years to pessimism. I'll tell you what. I'm a little surprised that Yankee fans reacted in that way to what Brian Cashman said. I read it completely differently. I read what Cashman said and listen to what he said, which is, we are optimistic he's going to come back. I'm paraphrasing, we very much believe that Judge will be back in the time frame that we're expecting. We believe it, he believes it, and the doctors believe it. But you never know what's going to happen. That, to me, is Brian Cashman. He won't go all the way and say Judge is coming back, because if he does say it and Judge doesn't come back, he gets flambéed for it, deservedly so. So he is stopping short to protect himself, which you can criticize, but you can also understand because we're all human beings, right? He said, we're expecting him to be back. Doctors are expecting him to be back. He said, we are very optimistic he's going to be back. And Yankee fans hear it and say, he's not coming back. How do you get that? Other than just you're pessimistic. And I understand the pessimism. But he literally said, we believe he's going to come back, just like you never know. And that's a fair thing to say, is it not? So I'm not getting caught up in this, that Judge isn't coming back. Until they say he's not coming back, and maybe I'll be wrong about this, I'm operating under the assumption that he will be. Stanton's going to be back, probably by the end of this month. I don't think Bellinger's going to... They just have to wait for the hamstring to heal, 4 to 6 weeks, and then he's going to be back. And when they're back, this offense is insane. And you can criticize it, and you can say they have too many first basemen. And how are they going to play everybody? You know what that sounds like to me? An awesome problem. A good problem to have. A really good, a champagne problem. A first world problem. And damn it, you know what it is? It's an evil empire problem. That's right. Assuming health, the Yankees will enter this American League postseason with a 1 through 3 in the rotation of Cam Schlittler, and I understand last night was not his finest moment, but he has been incredible. Cam Schlittler, Garrett Cole, Max Fried. Is that pretty good? David Bednar's a rock star at the back ends of the bullpen. And yeah, would I have liked to see them get another bullpen arm? Yes. Does watching Austin Wells strike out and pop out make me want to slam my head into the wall? It does. I would have loved for the Yankees to get Adley Rutschman. It wasn't in the cards. It didn't work out. But you know what? Despite that, let's have an honest conversation right now. This does not mean what I'm about to say, that the Yankees will win the American League. They lost last year to Toronto. They lose all the time since winning the World Series in 2009. They made the World Series once and got obliterated by the Dodgers. It does not mean they will make it. But let's have a real honest conversation right now. Who is the best team in the American League on paper? I get it. The games are not played on paper. And I think Aaron Boone's a terrible manager. And I don't think the Yankees are going to win the championship. I don't think so. I think they are likely to win the American League and then lose to whoever wins the National League. I'm not even saying they're going to win the World Series. I don't think they're going to. What team's better than the Yankees? In the American League, name the team that's better than the Yankees. Name them. Name it. So yeah, would Rutschman have been nice? Sure. A catcher would have been nice? Yes. A bullpen arm would have been great? Yes. I'll tell you what, though. This team's good enough as constituted to get there. And if they don't, it's a disaster and it's a failure. Period. And just to bring it back to the Red Sox. If indeed, Yankees-Red Sox in the AL wildcard round, winner of that 3-game series is going to go to the World Series. Not the Rays, not the Astros, not the White Sox, not the Guardians. And I do think Cleveland will win the AL Central. Love their trade for Griffin yesterday. I do like the Guardians. I think the Mariners are due to make a run at some point. I still think they're the best team in the AL West. And Seattle has high upside. Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh are not going to be this bad the entire season. But when it's all said and done, Yankees and Red Sox, Two best teams in the AL. Winner of that series goes to the World Series. And I believe, and I'm pessimistic, generally as a Yankee fan, it'll be the Bronx Bombers. They are the best team in the American League. Doesn't mean they'll win the World Series. We'll do more on the Major League Baseball trade deadline later this hour. On the other side, we will get the expert opinion of Odyssey Sports Major League Baseball insider, the great Bob Nightingale, on You Better You Bet.
field. At the wall, Abreu will watch it go. What a way to get this party started.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Masson, courtesy of the call there. Adley Rutschman homer versus the Red Sox earlier this year. Now Adley Rutschman will be playing for the Boston Red Sox. And joining us right now to talk all things Major League Baseball trade deadline, including the Boston Red Sox, including the New York Yankees, and I didn't even get to the big call-up the Yankees made last night, and some of the players the Yankees sent down to AAA last night that I loved as a Yankee fan. We'll talk some Tarek Skubal and more with Odyssey Sports Major League Baseball insider, the great Bob Nightingale. Insider calls are presented by Grainger with professional-grade products for every industry. Grainger has you covered. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, spelled Grainger. Bob, welcome back to the show. Nick Kostos here. How's it going on You Better You Bet Westwood One Sports?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks, Nick.
Let's talk some trade deadline, Bob. And I want to start with the New York Yankees. A lot of people, Bob, are surprised that the Yankees didn't do more at the trade deadline. Do you share that opinion, and how would you grade what Brian Cashman did over the course of the last week or so?
Yeah, I was too. They really wanted a catcher bad, and they needed another, back-end reliever. Got a couple of offensive upgrades, in Garcia. Yeah, we'll see. I think, what they did is kind of tempered by, is Aaron Judge coming back or not? If he was not coming back, it really doesn't matter what they're going to do. It's hard for them to go deep into October without Aaron Judge. It's probably impossible to go deep without him.
Bob, I'm curious what your interpretation was of what Brian Cashman said last night about Aaron Judge. We played the audio in the last segment, and just to give some context to you, right? Like, I'm a lifelong Yankee fan. A lot of my friends are Yankee fans. A lot of my friends in the media are Yankee fans. And I was surprised about the pessimism that everyone had after listening to what Cashman said, because it seems like the prevailing thought was, well, Judge isn't coming back, because Brian Cashman didn't go all the way and say he's 100% coming back. My interpretation is he's protecting himself a little bit. He said multiple times they're very optimistic. The doctors are optimistic that he's coming back. Just basically, you never know. So I heard that and thought, well, I think Judge is coming back. That's my opinion. Did you have the same sense, or are you a little bit more pessimistic on Judge's potential return?
Yeah, I didn't hear what he said, but I'm pessimistic because they're pessimistic. And despite what they're saying publicly, privately, they're very worried. Some of the organization don't think he's coming back. That's just not healing fast enough and not enough time. So I'm just going what the Yankees actually believe privately, and what they say internally is they're very pessimistic whether he comes back or not. So that kind of falls into the whole trade deadline is, are you really going to go all in if you don't have Aaron Judge back? And it's been out a long time now.
Is it your sense, Bob, if I asked you to guess right now, this is a pencil, not pen answer. You can reserve the right to change your mind. New information may present itself. But if you had to guess right now, will Aaron Judge return to the Yankees or not this year, you would say what?
I would say no. And the reason I say that is just talking to Yankee people privately. And there's a lot of doubt, way too much doubt. And like I said, I mean, he has missed so much time, too. It's like, he can't just, come back in the field and all of a sudden be the old Aaron Judge. So I think they're, keeping their fingers crossed, praying, rosaries, everything else. But I don't think he's coming back because I don't think they think he's coming back.
All right, so difference of opinion from me and Bob on that one. Bob obviously has great sources. That makes me sad to hear. We'll see how it goes with Aaron Judge down the stretch of the season for the New York Yankees. Bob, let's stay in the American League East. What about the Boston Red Sox and their trade for Adley Rutschman? People are crushing it. They gave up too much. I kind of like that they took a big swing. Where are you at on what the Red Sox did?
I love what they did. Hey, prospects are prospects. I mean, how many of these prospects, become studs or really don't work out? I mean, when the Dodgers made the move for Skubal, they got three kids. Two of them were 11th round draft picks, and one was a 3rd round draft pick. And two of the 11th round draft picks were kids they got elsewhere. No, go for it. I mean, they're so hot right now. They're the best team in the American League. The way they're playing, if Rutschman can just bounce back and be, just a little bit like his old self, it's a big upgrade because they've had the worst catching in baseball. They've only got 4 home runs by their catchers all season. So that's where you got scouts and stuff. You still have a draft. Go get more prospects. So no, I was very surprised they gave up that, and I kind of love it. I love GMs who are aggressive like that and not afraid.
Besides, Bob, for what the Yankees and Red Sox did leading up to the trade deadline, what was your favorite move that another American League team made at the deadline or leading up to it?
Yeah, American League so wide open, and they weren't as aggressive as I thought. Tampa Bay is a team like, okay, I thought they'd be more aggressive. I thought they'd be a lot more aggressive on Scooble, and that didn't really happen. But the American League team I got to go with, I did the best job of any American League team is Cleveland Guardians. They got, a lot of offensive help, got some bullpen help, got an extra, pitcher to help out just for pitching depth. So I love what Cleveland did. I think what they did, they're going to pass the White Sox and win that division and be a force again in American League playoffs.
I completely agree with that. I do think I think the White Sox will be the final wild card team, but I do think the Guardians will ultimately win the AL Central. We agree on that. Bob Nightingale on the show with us. You bet. Nick Kostos, Westwood One Sports, Odyssey MLB Insider. Insider Calls brought to you by Grainger. For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Bob, what about the Philadelphia Phillies trade yesterday morning for Luis Arias, which is going to cause a big shift as to where a lot of the Phillies play, with Bryce Harper going to the outfield? We are going to see Alec Bohm is going to play first now, so a lot of shifting here in terms of the defense for the Phillies, but obviously an offensive weapon in Arias. What about his acquisition by Dave Dombrowski and the Phils?
I love the move, Nick. I really did. I love Luis Arias, one of my favorite players in the game. He's a carbon copy of Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew. Just puts that ball in play. And they need that. I remember talking to Bryce Harper maybe a week, 10 days ago, and he says, we need someone that's not like us, that just doesn't sit back and slug and home run or strikeout. And he's only struck out 21 times all season. And he's played some very good defense. I've seen a lot. Ron Washington has turned him into a Gold Glove caliber guy. I'm not saying he's going to win the Gold Glove, but he's so much better than he was. So, Stock can handle third base fine. I don't think Bohm will be much different than Harper at first. And kudos to Harper willing to go back into the outfield. I like the move, but I'm a big Arias fan. He's won three batting titles. He can win a fourth. But I think it's exactly what the Phillies need.
Let's go to the NL Central, Bob. I like what Jed Hoyer and the Cubs did, at least from the standpoint of their being aggressive, right? Just besieged by injuries this year, especially at pitcher. Here's Kevin Gausman, here's Holmes from the Mets, along with Tyrone Taylor. What about Jed Hoyer and the Chicago Cubs as they look to try and catch the Milwaukee Brewers, or at least hold on to a wild card spot in the National League?
No, I'm with you, Nick. They become dangerous. I love those moves. Getting Kevin Gausman from Toronto, getting Clay Holmes from the Mets. Holmes was supposed to go to Arizona, and when the kids' physicals flunked, the Diamondbacks thought they had Holmes. So the Cubs, swooped in and got him. Got Zephyr John from the Angels for the bullpen. So love the moves they made, and they're giving me a force. I think Phillies have the best chance to knock off the Dodgers if anybody can in the National League. But I put the Cubs almost right there. I think they're going to make a run at the division. I still think the Brewers hold them off, but I think the Cubs will be very dangerous come October.
How would you characterize, Bob, the Milwaukee Brewers trade deadline?
Disappointing. I would have loved to see them got Scooble. They said they made a competitive offer, but obviously he's not good enough. I would have loved to see them just go for it. Now it's the same situation. Remember last year, they beat the Cubs in the division series. People going crazy in Milwaukee. Then they just got killed by the Dodgers. It was a sweep. I don't think the Brewers even had a lead in the game. And I just think the same thing. They don't really have that bopper. They don't have that great number 2 guy behind Mizorowski. So, disappointing. I know, they're in the playoffs every year. They always, surprise everybody. They always overachieve. But I wish they had been more aggressive and really got him for this thing.
I want to go to the National League West. Bob, my sense is when it's all said and done, one team outside of the Dodgers will win the division, right? I think we'll see one NL West team as a wild card club. My expectation is the Cubs will be a wild card team. The Phillies will ultimately be a wild card team. And I think the Padres are ultimately going to hunt down Arizona, and the Padres will be a wild card team as well. What about A.J. Preller, once again being uber regressive? Here's Casey Mize. Here's Robbie Ray. Your thoughts on the Padres trade deadline?
Yeah, I'm with you all the way in that one. If the Phillies don't, chase down Atlanta, it's going to be Phillies or Atlanta get a wild card spot. Same thing, either the Cubs or Brewers. I do think that the Padres are more suited to win the wild card thing. Arizona really didn't do anything. They got Lars Nootbaar, and that was it. But yeah, I mean, everybody wondered, hey, can the Padres pull it off? Do they have to trade some relief help to go get 2 starters? And they did it without trading him a single reliever. Hey, Robbie Ray's been the best pitcher in baseball since mid-June. Like a 1.09 ERA, 6-0 last 8 starts. So he's great. And Casey Mize, he's a stud when he's healthy. They're going to get those 200 guys back too at some point. Just Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta. We'll see how much they can help. But all of a sudden now they have a rotation. Now they just need to fix that offense. They got 2 months to do so, but they've been so erratic. And for them to win, they need Manny Machado to hit. They really do.
What is the Padres' ultimate upside this season?
Well, I think it's almost like every year come October when they're not the favorites to knock off the Dodgers, but they got a shot. But the 3 big guys, I mean, especially Machado and Tatis, and Jackson Merrill, they got a hit for them to do something. They got to score some runs. Because the beauty about the Padres is, hey, if they get a lead after 6 innings, that bullpen is so dangerous. In particular in the postseason, that's what you need. You need a great bullpen. So, they should have beat the Dodgers 2 years ago. They blew that one up 2-1, Game 4 in San Diego. Dodgers won a bullpen game, and they blew it. Never scored a run the last 2 games. So I think the upside's a World Series. I don't like their chances for World Series. I don't think this team is as good as the ones they've had the last 4 or 5 years. But they got a shot.
The World Series, Bob, will be blank versus blank and 2 wins.
Yeah, I was with the Phillies all the way from spring training on, but this Google thing might change it. I'm going to go Dodgers, Red Sox right now. I'm not going to count out Phillies, but yeah, you said, okay, here's $1 million. Which ones are you going to do? I'll go Dodgers, Red Sox. Hey, rematch of 2018 be cool. 2 great historic franchises. But I just think what the Red Sox are doing, what they did with Rutschman, I think they're clearly the team that beats the American League. And of course, we know the Dodgers are the team that beat in the National League.
My hope is that as a Yankee fan, Aaron Judge comes back and the Yankees can say they, not the Red Sox, are the team to beat. And my final question will revolve around the Yankees here, Bob. Yankee conspiracy theorists will say that the Yankees called up their top prospect, shortstop George Lombard, last night because the deadline was uneventful and because they wanted to get Yankee fans off the scent and off being angry at Brian Cashman. So here comes George Lombard, expected to play short. Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez both sent down to the minors. Yankee fans happy about that, especially with Volpe. What should the expectations for Yankee fans and baseball fans be for George Lombard? A lot of pressure coming his way now down the stretch. Probably going to be splitting time at short with Jose Caballero for the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, just a great young-looking prospect, and no reason why he can't be what Volpe was when he came up. I don't think there was any way in the world they did this because of last feedback from Brian Cashman, all that. I think they're going to do it anyway, and I just think now is the time. So no, I mean the sky's the limit. There's no reason why he can't be that guy. When everybody's so excited about Volpe, being the next Jeter, obviously high expectations, and I think the same thing here with Lombard. But it is a big jump from when he started doing it now. A lot of pressure on the kid. See what he can do. But hopefully it works out for him. And now he's our shortstop of the future. And then on the on Dominguez, it's like people have been talking about him for so long. But you talk to rival teams throughout baseball, they say he's one of the most overrated prospects in the game. People aren't nearly as big on Dominguez as other people. And I think at some point, maybe this winter, they're going to have to move him somewhere else, give him another chance, because I don't think he'll ever be that player in New York. Yeah, his nickname is the Martian. I would like for the Yankees to send him to Mars. I think that would be great. Actual final question, Bob. Do you get to get some sleep now that the trade deadline's over? Yeah, it's just a crazy 48 hours. It's funny, nothing, even though people talk about the trade deadline, it seems like as soon as opening day is over, it just gets so hyped up. But yeah, the last 48 hours get crazy, and yesterday morning, work on the Phillies trade with a rise, like at 5:30 in the morning my time. So, and then of course you're up all day, and then a flurry. So yeah, then the Scooble was a Saturday night. So it's really those 48 hours. Not much happens. Between them, just a lot of talk. But it's almost like everybody waits the final minute before they have to make a trade. Bob, appreciate the time. Stay well. We'll catch up down the line. All right, my pleasure. Thanks, Nick. Odyssey Sports Major League Baseball insider Bob Nightingale joining us here on the show. Insider Calls brought to you by Grainger. With professional-grade products for every industry, Grainger has you covered. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. I love that the Yankees sent Anthony Volpe down to the minors. I'm not rooting against Volpe. I have nothing against him personally. He has just clearly not lived up to the sky-high expectations, and probably unfair to saddle him with next Derek Jeter. Born in New York, grew up a diehard Yankee fan in Jersey. Really tough spot for the kid. But he hasn't been good. Bottom line, performance-based industry. This happens in life. Dominguez has been bad. See you later. And hopefully for the Yankees, George Lombard can get it together. Now, I'll just say this. Bob is definitely more plugged in than me. So when he says he's talking to people in the Yankee organization and they are privately pessimistic about Judge, it's worth considering. I have heard differently for whatever it's worth. I'm not saying he's definitely coming back. I'm not saying that. Just that I have spoken to people who are very familiar with a lot of this stuff. And they think he's coming back. I'm not disagreeing with Bob. Bob is an expert. He is a branded insider by this company, and I respect him. And he's been on the show a bunch over the years. So I'm not looking to turn this into Nick versus Bob. He has more sources than me. I'm just saying the guys that I've talked to, I think are pretty sharp. And my guess, even with what Bob said, I think Judge is going to come back. I can be wrong. That's my opinion. On the other side, more Nick Kostos thoughts on the trade deadline. I thought Bob said some interesting things about the Padres. We'll get to them. We'll get to the Brewers. We'll get to the Cubs and more here on a Tuesday.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win your wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. How great is that? Download the BetMGM app today and please gamble responsibly. I agree with what Bob Nightingale said in the last segment about the San Diego Padres and A.J. Preller's another aggressive trade deadline from Padres president A.J. Preller. In comes Casey Mize from the Tigers as they tear it down with Skubal going to the Dodgers. And Robbie Ray from San Francisco. And Bob's right. Robbie Ray for the last month has been the best pitcher in baseball. Now the Padres need a couple things to go right with their lineup, which Bob alluded to. I think they have a pretty high ceiling. I won't pick them to beat the Dodgers. I like the Phillies more. But the Padres, I expect to make the playoffs in the NL. The Diamondbacks currently hold one of those wild card spots. Their big move was Lars Nootbaar, which sounds like something you buy at like an organic food store, a Lars Nootbaar. I think the Padres are clearly better. I think with these additions, the Padres will be playing in October. So I like what the Padres did. I like what Jed Hoyer and the Cubs did. Uber aggressive. All the injuries they've suffered this year at pitcher. In comes Kevin Gausman. In comes Clay Holmes from the Mets along with Tyrone Taylor. I really like it. And I think the Cubs will keep a hold on that first wild card spot. I don't think they'll catch the Brewers atop the NL Central, but I do think the Cubs will hold that first wild card spot. And they're going to have a lot of pitchers to choose from for the rotation when they make the playoffs. So I loved it from a Chicago Cubs perspective. I kind of can't get over what the Milwaukee Brewers didn't do. Okay. Here's an arm in the bullpen. Antonio Santazella from the Colorado Rockies. Here's Dustin May. Okay. Do you know what the problem is? With every player acquired by the Milwaukee Brewers, the big problem, none of them are named Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal, in his introductory media session yesterday as he gets set to start tonight for the Dodgers in Wrigley against the Cubs to stop the Dodgers' 4-game losing streak, Tarik Skubal was defensive of his new team. He doesn't believe the Dodgers are ruining baseball. In fact, Skubal gave them a ton of credit. He said, any team in baseball could have traded for me. And the Dodgers did. The Milwaukee Brewers are a team in Major League Baseball. Ergo, the Brewers are a team that could have traded for Skubal. And given the fact that the Brewers are having a tremendous regular season, Milwaukee is currently 69, nice, and 43. The Dodgers are 69 and 44. Nice. The Brewers could have single-handedly, A, acquired Tarik Skubal to pair with Jacob Mizorowski, and B, prevented the Dodgers from getting him, and chose not to do it. Maybe they win the World Series, in which case we'll say, wow, that was brilliant to hold on to the prospects. My sense is it's not going to go great. And I can't believe that this is the path they chose. Behind Doré could have been Tarik Skubal. And the Milwaukee Brewers said, not only are we not going to get him, but we're going to let our biggest competition in the National League, the LA Dodgers, get him instead. Disaster. Horrible. Disgraceful from the Milwaukee Brewers. Final hour, Power Hour, coming up on the other side. Two great guests will join us. John Daigle talking fantasy football from Establish the Run. But we're going to start it off with friend of the show, the great Femi Abebefe.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
So Femi's going to join us on the show right now. And Femi obviously was on the show when Jake was here. We don't say bring it up Jake anymore. Laura's on the board. So Femi gets to hear me say bring it up Laura. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, Femi Abebefe, our Crits Like Old Times, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. Great friend of the show, great friend of all of ours here at You Better You Bet. We miss him. We are very happy that he is back in the You Better You Bet universe. He's doing an awesome job right now with our friends at VSiN, and we're no longer the BetMGM network, no longer like blood rivals with VSiN. So very happy for his success. He's killing it at VSiN. I know because I talked to him, got a lot of cool stuff coming up for this football season, and one of the best guys out there. And I said to him off air, because Femi's got a bad hair situation going on right now. So pretty high up on the Norwood scale. I said, Femi, I buzzed all my hair off just so we could be in solidarity. We could be brothers here just with not a lot of hair together. Femi joins us here on the show. Welcome back, my friend. How's it going?
Oh, what's going on, man? Did we go to like a 2, 1.5? How low did you go with this thing, man? It's great to be back with you guys.
I went to a 3. A 3 on top.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is nice. But you know what, dude? I don't know if you can see it here. I have so many grays in my beard. So many. Oh. And you're not there. You got no grays at all.
Well, so lighting, of course, is helping me out here up top and on the face. Like, I don't have many on the face. There's a couple every now and then that I'll pluck. Up top, I've started to notice a few grays on the sides where I'm actually strong. It's like the center where the moon roof is at. That's where we're a little bit difficult. But on the sides, we're starting to notice some grays. But it's not to the point where I'm going to start to freak out and have the crisis moment. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
How are you feeling at this point right now in the sports calendar? Football almost here. Baseball trade deadline now in the rearview mirror. Take me through Femi Abebefe's level of excitement right now, and then we'll get into the weeds.
Oh, dude, I'm fired up now. Now, I will say last week, in the last couple weeks, I feel like I've had a sports hangover after the World Cup. The World Cup was phenomenal for 5 to 6 weeks. That took us through the summer, so it doesn't feel like we've actually had an off season. Because usually by the time you get to late June, after the NBA Finals, after the Stanley Cup Final, it's okay, we got some baseball going on, start looking at taking vacations, doing all that stuff, come back, all-star break in Major League Baseball. So it feels like you have a little bit of time to kind of catch your breath. But this year, we had the World Cup, and the World Cup was awesome. The expanded format. It was phenomenal. I had some futures on Spain and England, so shout out to La Roja to getting it done. I was hoping that we could get them in the final, but of course England went full England, as they often do in major tournaments. But it was fun. So where last couple of weeks, I was like, dude, I can't even watch baseball that much because I'm just you come down from that high, the dopamine of the World Cup. But we're back. Once you got NFL training camps back in the field, I was like, okay, now we're back in the mode. Now we're ready to roll. All 32 teams pads are coming on this week, the last couple of days. So it's good. We're getting into that mode where football season's right around the corner. And we got a game this Thursday, by the way, which is insane.
I know. Dude, Kenny Pickett was named the starting quarterback for the Panthers in the Hall of Fame game. Full breakdown coming up on Thursday for the Hall of Fame game here on You Better You Bet. Just give me 20 seconds because I love this. I do the same. So this is not a criticism of you. I said the same thing to Kanish when he was on the show recently. I do this also. When we tweet about or whatever, write about American sports and we talk about it a certain way. And then when we collectively tweet about soccer, we will use terms that we would like shambolic effort by the England defense. Like Kanish does it. He's probably the funniest example of it. I do it. You did this also during the World Cup, right? When you were adopting all the soccer nomenclature when we were talking about this, right?
100%. I mean, the World Cup is my favorite sporting event. I know everyone has, I love the National Football League. The NFL is my favorite thing, from a year-to-year standpoint. But favorite sporting events that take place in this world, It's the World Cup, and it's once every 4 years. And we get the Euros, we get a little dabble a little bit in a couple of years, but I mean, I'm going to use all the soccer terms, you know? You would have thought that I was born in Birmingham or something like that, the way I was rooting for England in the semifinals.
Not Alabama.
Argentina.
Not Birmingham,
no, not
Alabama.
Birmingham City. Shout out to Birmingham City and Jude Bellingham, where he got his start. But I was all in. I think everyone was all in. But luckily enough, it was a fun tournament. And we made some money as well.
All right, my friends, let's do some NFL. We'll close with some Major League Baseball. Now, I will pose these questions. You can answer however you'd like. There could be betting tie-ins here with the answers. They could just be your opinions on the season. And I want to start because I'm kind of all over the place on this team, your favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, boy.
So we've talked a bunch off air, right, about Dallas this offseason and that I'm really high on the Cowboys. And I think their upside is to win the NFC. Like, I mean that. I think that's their ultimate upside. I'm not saying they'll get there, but I think they could. I'm starting to get a little concerned about their offensive tackles and pass pro with Terrence Steele and, an open competition at left tackle with Tyler Guyton there. Doesn't sound great to me going up against the Giants in week 1. I might bet the Giants as a primetime home dog Sunday Night Football week 1. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Where are you at right now, Femi, on your favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys?
I would say that I'm cautiously optimistic. I am not drunk off the Kool-Aid like a lot of people that are now currently in Oxnard, but down in Dallas for the most part. There's a lot of excitement about this Cowboys team. And of course, it starts with the offense, with what they're able to do. So many points that they scored last year. It should be even better this upcoming season, year 2, under Brian Schottenheimer as the head guy. But you have questions on the offensive line. I still have questions on defense. Where's the consistent pass rush coming from? I know they've gotten the rookies that they brought in, Caleb Downs. I mean, you could say so much about how talented he was and how good he was at Ohio State. And Jayshawn Barham, if you want a sneaky guy, I don't know if you and Bill are in those dynasty leagues. Jayshawn Barham is getting rave reviews, the linebacker that they drafted in the mid rounds out of Michigan. He has been really showing out so far early on at training camp, to where I think that this is a playoff team. I cannot go as far as you went in terms of them having the upside to win the NFC because, and I know maybe this will make me unpopular amongst my fellow Cowboys fans, man, I still need to see Dak do it in big spots. There's been multiple times where in the postseason, they got home field. I mean, the Packers game a few years ago, I'm still not over that disaster when they were the 2 seed and they're just absolutely getting ran off their own field at home after not losing a home game the entire season. There's the multiple losses to the 49ers in the playoffs where the offense just came up woefully short. The defense actually showed up in those games. The offense did nothing in those games, and those are offenses that were loaded, just like this offense. So I need to see it to then get to the level of they could win the NFC. But in terms of making the playoffs, I think they can do that in a pretty stacked NFC by my estimation. This NFC is really good. It's loaded. You could make the case for about 12 teams to be in the postseason. I think they're a playoff team, but that's kind of where my optimism ends about America's team.
Rams or the field in the NFC? And if it's a team, and if it's the field, give me the team that you think is the most likely to surpass the Rams and get to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Yeah, this is easy. It's the field for me. And it's the Philadelphia Eagles, which pains me to say it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so funny you say that. I'm starting to really talk myself into this new offense with Sean Mannion. Tell us why you like the Eagles.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, last year, if you were following on Twitter, there might have been a couple of soda pops that were had during that Eagles 49ers wildcard game, but the offense with Kevin Patullo, horrendous. That was they absolutely had to make that call. They fire him. They bring in Sean Mannion. I'm loving what I'm hearing with how much they're using Jalen Hurts under center. And you're hearing Jordan Mailata, the left tackle, talk about how, hey, the defense doesn't know whether it's going to be run or pass. Now we're a little bit more multiple. There's a little bit more window dressing, so things are not as obvious. And also, too, I don't know what went wrong in their relationship or their friendship, but it felt like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown needed to be separated. So that might also be, even though A.J. Brown is a bona fide number 1, maybe this allows Devontae Smith to kind of take that Jackson Smith and Jigba leap after we saw the Seahawks go ahead and let DK Metcalf go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not saying he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year or be as good as JSN, but Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy. That's a bona fide wide receiver, first-round pick. He's been awesome. He could be a bona fide number 1 here for this Eagles offense. They draft Mekhi Lemon. The offensive line, as long as they're healthy, Lane Johnson can stay healthy. I think they'll be able to run the ball. And, of course, defensively. This is one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, everyone talks about Houston, Seattle, all these really good defenses. Philadelphia's right there with them. Vic Fangio's still there. Jalen Carter, he just got paid. He's still one of the better defensive tackles in the league. That secondary is insane. I think as long as this Eagles offense under Sean Mannion, who's a first-time play caller, so like there might be some growing pains there, but as long as they can at least have some continuity and at least be able to make explosive plays in the passing game, which they should be able to, I think Philadelphia is a team that is a little under the radar right now. And honestly, for those of you that want to go ahead and bet it, some award standpoints, I think Jalen Hurts is being disrespected from the MVP betting market. That's a team that could win a lot of games. You can get them around 30-1 if you want to dabble in the MVP market.
Our mutual friend of ours, Ryan Glasspiegel from Front Office Sports, who is a big sports bettor, came on the show yesterday, and he talked about Nick Sirianni. I don't think Sirianni can. I'm sure you'll agree. Just because, how many games do they have to win for Sirianni to win Coach of the Year?
Oh,
just
yeah,
that
15.
Yeah, just that there's a lot of positivity right now and optimism around the Philadelphia Eagles from sports bettors as we get set to enter the season. You bet on a Tuesday. Nick Kostos joined by our old friend Femi Abebefe. Follow him on Twitter at Femi Abebefe, doing awesome work with our friends at VSiN, and cool stuff coming down the pike for my friend Femi as well, which we don't want to get into here on this show, right? I didn't ask you beforehand. We can leave that alone.
Yeah, we can get to a little bit later.
We're good. Okay, great. I want to move to the AFC. Loaded question to start. Because I actually think the answer could be, and I don't know your answer to this, you could give me 6 or 7 different teams here, and I wouldn't be surprised. The AFC, I think, is totally wide open. If I asked you right now, and you can give a betting thought at price if you'd like, you can also answer the question, this is just the team I like regardless of price. Who's going to represent the AFC in Super Bowl 61 and why?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this is a tough one because the AFC has really good teams, but there's no great team as far as I'm concerned. But to me, I keep going back to this team. I'm liking what I'm hearing out of training camp. It's Baltimore, the Ravens, with Jesse Minter in year one. Now, I don't know if they could actually win it because I don't know about year one coaches winning the Super Bowl because it's never happened before, by the way. You don't see that stuff happen in the NFL. But, man, Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to go out there with something to prove. The way he played at the end of last season, I thought was really good. Everybody remembers Baltimore losing to Pittsburgh on Sunday night. Lamar put him in position. Tyler Loop just went ahead and went loop-de-loop and then missed the field goal, and then John Harbaugh got fired. That's how that went down. Otherwise, they were going to win the AFC North and make it to the postseason. I just think the Ravens defensively should be strong. You bring in Jesse Minter as opposed to what they were doing with Zach Orr. Declan Doyle from Chicago. They're going to use a lot more under center stuff. That's my big theme with this NFL season. These teams that are going to go more to under center, be a little bit more multiple as opposed to just, hey, we're going to throw in shotgun and we're going to run the ball from under center. Lamar Jackson, we forget when he's healthy, he is dynamic, not just outside the pocket, but also inside the pocket. One of the best passer ratings in NFL history all time. So I like Baltimore. It's not my most confident opinion because I think there's a lot of just really good in the AFC. But to me, if I had to peg one team, most complete team in my opinion, I think it's the Ravens.
Your second favorite team in the AFC is who and why?
Kansas City. It's the Chiefs.
We're ready. Dude. We're gonna do this again, right?
But they have Mahomes and Reed. I get Travis Kelce. Who knows? And there wasn't some flattering videos of Travis Kelce or photos or whatever at training camp last week.
Yeah, he looks fat.
He does. But hey, who hasn't gotten there after the wedding, the post-wedding glow? Dude,
I look at some honeymoon pictures, dude. I'm in Greece, dude, and I look like, I forget about gyro. I look like I ate a full lamb, like an actual, a lamb is in my belly. It's not flattering. It's not great.
Yeah, there's some, you let the button undone a little bit, and it's whoa, it's a hamburger
great,
meat
dude.
all out.
I don't do that. I'm too vain to have the hamburger meat, but I was a fat slob on my honeymoon.
Oh yeah, it was done. Shout out to St. Lucia, beautiful place if they haven't been. But to me, I think Kansas City, you bring in Kenneth Walker III, that's a dynamic running back. They needed that guy. I think we're getting rave reviews about all the rookie wide receivers that they have out there defensively. It leaves a little to be desired, but I just trust Patrick Mahomes coming off of the season with the ACL where he's going to get right. He's already out there pretty much full at training camp. I don't think we're going to see him in the preseason like we usually do under Andy Reid, where he usually plays a couple of games here, but it's hard for me to not pick Kansas City as that team. I'm not in on Buffalo. Joe Brady, I don't know. I don't get a great vibe from that. I just think that team defensively, they're too soft. Last year felt like the Bills' year. It was wide open. No Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar. It was there wide open. Go out there, get it done. And what did they do? They lost to the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. Like I'm not there with the Buffalo Bills. Can't get there with the other teams that are like New England. I think they take a little bit of a step back, even though on paper they look a little bit more talented. They'll probably be in the playoffs, but it's not going to be as wide open.
I like the Pats to win the AFC East. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that going either way. Like, let's see if Drake May takes another step because, I mean, the May that we saw in the postseason, rough. That was not good. Like, they were winning in spite of Drake May, whether it was the Chargers game, whether it was the Texans game, and, of course, the AFC title game against Stiddy and the Denver Broncos. Like that was in spite of Drake May that they got to the Super Bowl. Then we all saw it come to roost when they played that defense in Seattle in one of the most boring Super Bowls I think we can all remember watching. But I'm not there, even if they have A.J. Brown and Mike Vrabel. Obviously, we don't have to get into all the stuff that happened with him over the course of the offseason, but I just see this. Well, I won't. You can do that if you like.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like, yes, I mean, Aaron Rodgers brought it up yesterday on it's like involved with Diana. It's a thing that happened. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Yes. Having an extramarital affair is not like killing someone. It's okay.
No, it's not.
I don't want to do it, but it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not my jam. It's not my jam.
Fair enough. Not mine either. Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm not there with all these other teams in the AFC. I mean, maybe like Houston too. The offensive line's a little bit shaky, and I think we're kind of running on our last legs here with C.J. Stroud, unfortunately.
I see. I love. We'll have you on again. I love the Texans this year. Just like, can C.J. Stroud be average? If he's average, I think they win like they're. Well, like, you know, and listen, like that's. Yeah. I talked to friends of mine in the NFL media about this. Some of them like Houston, and if you don't, it's easy. You don't trust the offensive line, and you don't trust Stroud. Yeah. My thing is just, if he's average, I think they're going to be awesome. But that may not be the case. We'll see how it shakes out. Yep. 2 more NFL questions, and just so you know, I'm going to hit you with an AFC, and then we'll go to the NFC. So we'll put one and then the other, and then we'll do some baseball. So
2 conferences.
I'll ask you this question at the AFC. Yes, the 2 conferences. You know, the AFC and the NFC. So it'll be AFC, and then I will directly then ask you about the NFC. Give me a team first in the AFC that the betting market likes, or sports fans, football fans like, that you think will fall short of expectations this year?
I don't think the Bengals are going to bounce back and make the playoffs. I mean, how many times are we going to do this thing with? We're doing it too many times. Is that like they need a new head coach, and that's the only way I'll ever buy into this team. Defensively, they improved, but also they were atrocious last year. So going from atrocious to being bad is technically an improvement. I still think that's a bad defense. And Zach Taylor, in my opinion, is not the right guy for that job. They start slow every single season. And also, too, like, everyone blames Taylor. Everyone blames the defense. At some point, we got to call Joe Burrow injury prone. Like, this keeps happening with Joe Burrow. Can he stay healthy for the course of 17 games? It's been done in the past, but it's not something that I would necessarily bank on. So Cincinnati, to me, I know a lot of people like them. They traded for Dexter Lawrence, who I still think is incredible, by the way. Like, they made that addition, but I still think that defense and Joe Burrow's injury proneness, I don't like what I'm seeing out of Cincinnati, and I don't think they're going to be meeting those expectations this upcoming season.
Same question, NFC.
Who underrated or overrated, I should say, in the NFC? I would actually say I think it's the Detroit Lions. To me, it's twofold.
I said at the start of the show today, I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm with you.
So I think it's 1 Detroit, 2 Chicago for me. Those 2 teams in the NFC North.
I like the Bears.
The Detroit side of it. You're in on the Chicago Bears? I mean, Ben Johnson's already talking about regression, so I guess he's at least locked in on all that stuff. But like the Detroit Lions, I feel like a lot of the excitement is centered around the schedule that they have, where it's like, oh, they have such an easy schedule. Like, look how easy the schedule is going to be. Like, they can win 11, 12 games rather easily. Offensively, okay, like they're probably going to get Gibbs done maybe this afternoon, maybe tomorrow, now that Bijan Robinson got his money and the framework is out there for a contract for Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, great, they have him, but I'm still not sure about Jared Goff without Ben Johnson. You know, like we still have these big questions about Jared Goff, and he was phenomenal under Ben Johnson. He was phenomenal under Sean McVay, but without those guys, he's just been good, you know, above average. It hasn't been great like we saw under those play callers. And then defensively as well, I mean, like they have like the secondary, which is in shambles with all the injuries. Unfortunately, the arrest with Terrion Arnold, what happened there, like they had to release him. Like there's just been so much, like so many moving parts on the defensive side of the ball for the Detroit Lions to where they're in a very, very difficult division. I can see that team falling short of expectations. Chicago, to me, a lot of it stems from, man, like the close wins last year. I mean, they were like the miracle Bears by the time we got to December. Like what they did in December against the Packers, what they did in the playoffs against the Packers, all these games coming down to the wire. Hell, they almost did it against the 49ers on that Sunday Night Football game. I think they take a step back. Now we're seeing the injury to Kobe Bryant, which is not going to be for the entire season, but it's a significant knee injury, which will keep him out at least for the early portion of the 2026 campaign. I think that Chicago takes a little bit of a step back too. I think we're putting the cart before the horse a little on Caleb Williams. Like this has got, I mean, can we get to 60% completion percentage before we start talking MVP and we start talking that this guy's going to take the next step? Like I got to see that first before I start to buy in on the Chicago Bears, especially when you factor in the division that they play in, that has a Minnesota Vikings team that's pretty talented and a Green Bay Packers team when they get Micah Parsons back, whenever that is obviously really good as well.
And my Bears love does feel to me a little bit like my Commanders love last offseason. Just putting it out there. You know, and we have some time to figure it out. We got some time I want to go like, quickly, lightning around like 30 seconds per.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. Biggest takeaway from the Major League Baseball trade deadline from a betting perspective?
To me, it's not the obvious one. It's not the Dodgers getting schoolable. Like, I mean, that's just like the rich getting richer. To me, it's the Chicago Cubs. And what they were able to do in getting some starting pitchers, Kevin Gausman, Clay Holmes. Like, these are not like the greatest guys. Clay Holmes, like, I'm not like super invested in trusting that guy. Gausman at home can be good. Away from home can be poor. But they already have Shota Imanaga, Matthew Boyd, Ben Brown working his way back from injury. Justin Steele, if he can get back in September, that's almost like a trade deadline acquisition if they're able to get him for the stretch run. I think the Cubs, based on what they have been doing this season, I think they could actually put some fear in the Dodgers, as crazy as that sounds, come October.
The people will be angry with me, and I will be angry with myself. And I know you mentioned Hurts MVP, potentially. Give us an NFL award betting thought.
Ooh, okay. To me, Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year. That's the one for me.
Don't you feel like people in general, like, and I'll just speak for fantasy players, Femi, because I did like a top 12 fantasy ranking earlier in the show. It feels like everyone, when they talk about Jefferson, is like, well, what if J.J. McCarthy starts? And I'm thinking, he's not. Like, Kyler's going to play, right?
Yeah.
So we are on the same page here on J.J.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had options. Like, the Vikings weren't the only team that needed a veteran quarterback. He was not signing there unless he probably had some assurances that he was going to be the guy. Justin Jefferson, I think, back with a good quarterback, is going to have a monster season. KOC, I think he's going to want to run the offense the way he's been doing it in the past. I like Kyler Murray and this offense quite a bit. I think Minnesota's another playoff team out of that NFC North, which is why I think Detroit takes a step back. Chicago could potentially take a step back, maybe even Green Bay as well. But I like Minnesota, what they're able to do. I think they're going to win a lot of games with that defense. If Justin Jefferson stays healthy, if Kyler Murray stays healthy, Jefferson will have one of those top 3 caliber fantasy seasons where he'll be right in the conversation.
We'll do this again in the coming weeks?
Hell yeah, man. We have to.
We do.
Of course. We do.
Great Femi.
Have you seen?
Yeah.
Have you seen The Odyssey? I'm going to go see The Odyssey later on this morning. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet.
I don't know. I figured that after recent events with you and that word, that maybe you would not be interested in seeing that movie. Because you literally go, did you see The Odyssey? And I'm like, the comp, did we see Odyssey? I was like, I'm here every day. I have not seen The Odyssey. Honestly, like, that kind of stuff is not really my jam. Like,
it's usually not. I mean, it's such a big pop culture moment that I was just like, you know what? Like, I need to like see this just out of curiosity. And Matt Damon, Zendaya, I mean, Anne Hathaway, OG Anunoby's biggest fan. Like, she's in it. Like, there's so many people that are in this. So I'm like, hey, people are talking about it. Christopher Nolan. I love The Dark Knight, and that's the Batman series. So I'm going to check it out this morning. And also, honestly, it's an excuse to have movie theater popcorn. That's pretty much what I do.
Love that. And I'm guessing you shower it in that horrendous butter, which is the most delicious thing of all time, which is basically pure fat, right? In liquid form.
Yes. Yeah. If you're not doing that, you shouldn't even go.
It is delicious. And so are you, my friend. And I mean that in, platonic way. Our friend Femi, we love you. We miss you. Great to have you back on the show. Looking forward to doing this more often. Thank you.
Hey, you guys as well. Be easy. We'll talk to you guys later, man.
The great Femi Abebefe joining us here. And when next time we talk to Femi, we'll talk to him about the Eagles and one of his favorite wide receivers, Dontavian Wicks. Oh, yeah. Follow Femi on Twitter, Femi Abebefe. Femi's killing it for our friends right now at VSiN. All right, we'll take a quick break. And on the other side, we told you earlier in the show, Bijan Robinson, extension in Atlanta. We're expecting Jahmyr Gibbs' extension to get done in Detroit with the Lions. Those will be your top 2 picks in fantasy football drafts. But which one is the better pick at number 1 overall? And what about the rest of the top 12? One of my absolute favorite fantasy football analysts, the great John Daigle from Establish the Run, joins us right after this on You Better You Bet.
Look out from behind. Avoids the sack. Still running around. Whoa, and down he goes back at the 24-yard line. Just relentless.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Got a condo on my wrist, girl. I'm cashing out. How about the Houston Texans defense? Pretty good. My guess would be, I think there are a couple teams you could say could be the number one ranked defense in the NFL this year. Eagles, Seahawks, Broncos. My favorite, the Houston Texans. I think the Texans will have the number one ranked defense this year. And our defensive player of the week is the Houston Texans defense. And it's sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly serving all branches of the armed services, veterans, and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Our members are the mission. Now, when you think about fantasy football, you don't get that excited about defense. You get excited about skill positions. You get excited about offense. And joining us right now to break it down is we are in the thick of fantasy football draft season. One of my absolute favorites. Does an incredible job for our friends at Establish the Run. And longtime listeners and viewers know this. I have subscribed to ETR since the first season, since 2019. So I literally give them money every year. That is how much I value their analysis. And our friend John Daigle, who handles a ton of the season-long content for them, which is like the vast majority of how people play fantasy football, with us now on the show, at NotJDaigle on Twitter. My friend, welcome back. Happy football season. How's it going?
It is, in fact, football season, the first game Thursday, and I appreciate you as much as every other subscriber that gives us money. We're coming up on my third season now at Establish the Run.
I bet you do.
It seems like it's been longer, but I do feel like the last 2 years we've made significant improvements, especially to the season-long product along the way, and so I'm excited about the upgrades you're about to see over the next month and a half until week one.
Yeah, I have on my phone, which is great because my wife has my credit card. So it's like I will get like the Amex notifications whenever a charge comes through. So I was like, I got a charge and I'm like, what is this? And then I realized it was the yearly ETR charge. It's like, oh, okay, that's great. So I'm back in for another year. I absolutely loved it. All right. I want to start, John, with the big news of the day, which is the Bijan Robinson extension in Atlanta, which we all expected, right? And my expectation now is that Jahmyr Gibbs will probably sign for a little bit more than Bijan. Now, I said at the start of the show, for our audience who maybe they're not totally familiar with what's going to happen in their drafts yet coming up in a couple weeks in home leagues, those are going to be the top two picks basically in every fantasy league, right? Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. And it really comes down to who you prefer. John Daigle, if you have the first pick in a fantasy football draft this year, assuming standard-ish rules, right? Half-point PPR, whatever, nothing really that crazy, are you going Gibbs or Bijan, and why?
It is definitely Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I want to be clear. I like Puka Nacua too alongside Bijan Robinson. Puka Nacua has led the league in yards per route run from two wide receiver sets. Since the Rams drafted him, they've averaged an absurd 6.3 yards per play when he's been on the field. He just is a difference maker. But when we're talking about structurally drafting players and setting ourselves up for success, the running backs this year are really in two tiers, and then we can start arguing about the hit rates that we can find the next group of running backs from the sixth round on to mimic the guys that are actually being drafted into the second, third round, like Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, Kyron Williams, the list goes on. That is a long-winded way to say we should set ourselves up by drafting either Gibbs, my preference for the 101, or Bijan, because then we can come back and have other strategies at wide receiver. Brock Bowers, the list goes on, just in case that second tier of running backs gets drafted early in the first and second and does not come back to us at the turn at 101 and 102. So yes, it is good. Gibbs has made 6 career starts without David Montgomery. He's averaged 27.4 PPR points. For reference, Christian McCaffrey was the RB1 last year, averaging 24.5. That's how good Gibbs has been. Not only that, but let's take that number and also share with you the Lions have Warren Sharp's easiest projected schedule of the entire season. So despite Bijan Robinson being an amazing player who plays as if he walks on water, led the league in yards from scrimmage last year with 6.3 yards per touch and a career-high 18% target share, I can still easily say, actually, that Jahmyr Gibbs is my 101.
Now, I said earlier in the show, I think I'm going to have the Lions outside of the playoffs this year despite the schedule. But the offense is going to be amazing. The problem is the defense for Detroit. And what's that good for? Fantasy football. Let's just come back. Like the high-scoring games, I think, will be the norm this year for the Detroit Falcons. Okay, so Gibbs over Bijan, both are great. You have Puka Nacua over Jamar Chase based on that answer. And they're both great, obviously. I slightly prefer Chase. Why do you like Puka Nacua more than Jamar Chase this year? Puka, your wide receiver one.
For everything he did last year, basically. I recall there were arguments in the Slack about whenever the Bengals got Flacco that Jamar Chase should be the first wide receiver in our rest of season rankings that we update and do a show on actually every single week at the site. And then other people had Jackson Smith and Jigba since he was on a record-breaking pace, but it didn't matter because at the end of the day, Puka Nacua still finished as the overall wide receiver one, and that was even with Devontae Adams leading the league in both end zone targets and receiving touchdowns and playing 14 games. When Puka Nacua is on the field as a very physical player who's sometimes not on it, he's still an absolute difference maker whose targets do not go away because he earns targets against any quarterback, against any coverage. That's the kind of player he is. So to me, within that offense that has Super Bowl expectations, Puka Nacua is still very clearly the 101. The wide receiver one overall, Chase behind him, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba. I still have Njigba ranked quite highly in that first tier of 5 players, including Bijan and Gibbs. But I will say there is a little bit of concern now that Clint Kubiak has moved on to Las Vegas after assisting Sam Darnold to a career high in yards per attempt. It's very easy to just logically think Seattle will learn from Kubiak and will do the same thing. But that's one of the lessons we should have taken away from last year, that John Morton watched Ben Johnson, and John Morton was released from his duties for play calling from the Lions after 6 to 8 games, basically midway through the year. We can also say that about Nick Caley and the Texans, who learned nothing from Sean McVay. We can say that about Kevin Patullo, who learned nothing from Kellen Moore and play callers before him in Philadelphia. And so I don't want to necessarily say the Seahawks will learn from Kubiak. Perhaps they still want to do things their way. Hopefully Mike McDonald has his fingers on the pulse more as an overseer there.
Let's travel to Vegas, where Clint Kubiak is now. And there's a lot of excitement right around Ashton Jeanty, who was the first-round top 10 pick at running back. He's bad last year. The offensive line's absolutely terrible. It doesn't mean Jeanty's going to be Bo Jackson, but I think he'll be better this year. And obviously Brock Bowers as well. And I know that this is something, I'm not going to take credit for this, but a lot of people in the fantasy community, I think you guys have said this. If we're looking for the next JSN this year, maybe it's Brock Bowers, even if they don't play the same position with Clint Kubiak now in Vegas. Your thoughts on those two guys on the Raiders? You can make the case both are like late first, early second round picks. Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers.
Love them both. Brock Bowers so much that I believe he's the better pick over someone that will go ahead of him in the second round, like Devon Achane or A.J. Brown. I am instead pivoting to Brock Bowers. It was only a 3-quarter sample until Brock Bowers suffered that knee injury in week 1. But on that 3-quarter sample, he was well on his way to being the guy you drafted in the first round with over 100 yards and being targeted on 35% of his routes. And an insane rate that we're now coming back with Kubiak, who, recall with the Seahawks last year, led the league in drop back rate and second in drop back rate from 2 tight end sets. He's going to have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer on the field at all times. And I just believe in the offense overall. I'm also happy you mentioned in the case for Ashton Jeanty, the terrible offensive line that actually finished dead last and allowing their running back to get hit behind the line of scrimmage. So yards that their running backs picked up before contact, which was not even ahead of the line of scrimmage because the Raiders were constantly getting hit the moment they touched the ball. But then they went out this offseason in the market, and their priority was Tyler Lindenbaum, who finished 4th at Pro Football Focus and run blocking this year. Also, last year, just to recall, Jordan Meredith, their starting center, ranked 29th in that metric. I expect their offensive line to be significantly better and be able to be masked better, too, with Clint Kubiak's play calling. And then we think about how the Raiders scored touchdowns. 80% of their touchdowns came through the air, an absurd rate. And 12 teams in the last decade have scored 80% of their touchdowns through the air. None of them reached that mark the following season. So logically, we then begin thinking maybe the Raiders then will score more touchdowns on the ground. So I actually did that study for us that established the run. And running backs the following year, after a team has that much success passing the ball and getting into the end zone that way, Running backs, it's a lot of meandering, right? Like you draft the RB12, he finishes the RB18. You draft the RB24, he finishes as the RB20, all in points per game. But the hits, there are some massive hits there. Your boy, Orleans Darkwa, in 2017, went undrafted, but actually finishes the RB40 for that Giants offense that regressed the following year. In 2023, everyone remembers James Robinson was drafted as roughly the RB60, so basically a last round pick. He finishes the RB7 in points per game. Ashton Genty is usually going as a first, second round turn, so he doesn't really have that much room to grow, but the range of outcomes, you don't have to squint to see Ashton Genty outscoring Christian McCaffrey this year, especially since over his last 6 games, he was 6th at his position in target share. So do I love Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers? A lot more than most home leagues will. Yes.
Couple more minutes with our friend John Daigle from Establish the Run on Twitter at @NotJDaigle. John, what are we doing with Jeremiah Love this year in fantasy football in about a minute?
I mentioned the schedule for the Lions, for example. For the Cardinals, it's complete different, especially if you just want to, everyone listening, go on Google and just check out the Cardinals schedule in the first 7 weeks. It's nearly impossible, not to mention their bye week falls in the quarter end of the season. And so that tells us usually that Carson Beck is most likely going to be off the bench and getting those developmental reps. I still want to bet on Jeremiah Love in the 3rd, 4th round, depending on his ADP falling, because he is the type of player that fits into the bucket of Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Leonard Fournette, those with an elite athletic score who also were drafted in the 1st round. Those players had success in their first year. So again, we draft in buckets. We think Love is that kind of player. But is the run out tough, especially for a guy like with Tyler Algier in Arizona, who just out carried Bijan Robinson and carries inside the 10-yard line? Yes, the run out's tough. So it's truly just betting on an elite athlete with draft capital in the 3rd or 4th round in your home league. And that's the glass half full case for him.
Think about how interesting that is, right? Ashton Genty was going in the 1st round last year of fantasy drafts, top 10 running back. We're talking about Jeremiah Love going maybe in the 3rd round this year of fantasy football drafts. Final question, as shallow or deep as you'd like to go, with knowing that my audience is not as sharp, and that's not an insult. It's like your audience is a really sharp fantasy football audience. So as shallow or deep as you'd like to go here, give us a fantasy football sleeper that should be on people's radars.
I'm going to go mid-round because right now, if you listen to any podcast, they'll tell you to hammer running backs early. But again, we draft in tiers. And so basically when it gets to Devon Achane and that next group of players that I already said some of their names, Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, it's not that I don't like those players. It's just that the past 2 years when running backs have stayed healthy, the RB 13 and 20 through 24 in points per game. So an RB2 you start weekly has averaged a 6th round ADP. That's why it's called the dead zone. Because the running backs you're drafting in the 3rd through 6th round, basically, we can match those hits rates from the 6th, 7th, 8th round. Thus, the running back, the first one I think of when I think about matching the hit rates of Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, and instead using those picks on wide receivers early is Jaylen Warren. Last year, Jaylen Warren ran 189 routes with Kenneth Gainwell off the field. Warren's target share literally doubled to 16%. Aaron Rodgers the last 2 years with the Jets and the Steelers has finished 7th and 2nd in running back target rate because, as you know, when you watch him, he does not want to get hit. He gets rid of the ball quickly. And Mike McCarthy will not change that. We may get more pace, so we may get more volume, but more importantly, Jaylen Warren with that PPR points and that higher target share perceivably is going to match the guys you're drafting in the 3rd round. So I love Jaylen Warren as an RB2 if you want to hammer elite quarterback and wide receivers in that 3rd through 6th range.
John, great job on the show. Establish the Run does a tremendous job. I was listening to their home league podcast last night. It is great. It is worth your time. At @NotJDaigle on Twitter. Stay well, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
I appreciate it. Always good to catch up.
Our pal John Daigle joining us here on You Better, You Bet. We are kind of up against it, but let's get the trivia question in quickly of the day. Our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman. His internet is back and working. Bill, welcome back. What's the trivia question?
All right, Nick, let's jump in here. Bijan Robinson is signed to a big extension after having 3 fabulous seasons with the Falcons. But of those 3 seasons, they've never been one of the top 5 single-season rushing seasons in Falcons history. I'm going to give you one of them. William Andrews, a really good running back for the Falcons in the late 70s and early 80s. Who are the other 3 running backs that make up the other 4 spots for Falcons single-season rushing yards?
Jamal Anderson.
Jamal Anderson is first.
Warwick Dunn.
It is not Warwick Dunn.
It's not TJ Duckett either, right?
It is not TJ Duckett either.
We'll attempt Rozier.
Not Rozier.
Who's the college player? All right. I'll attempt to answer this question on the other side. We'll give you some baseball bets as well right after this.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
All right, wild sprint to the finish today. BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today and please gamble responsibly. Thanks to our guests on today's show, our friend John Daigle, our friend Bob Nightingale, and the great Femi Abebefe. Thanks to our crew, which includes Bill Zimmerman. Bill, just in the interest of time, the answers to the trivia question.
All right, it's the Falcons' top 5 rushers in history, single season. William Andrews was one I gave you. In the break, you got Gerald Riggs, who did it twice. You needed a little hint. Kenny got Michael Turner. And the other one, which you got right away, was Jamal Anderson, the Dirty Bird.
The Dirty Bird. So there you have it. Thanks to Bill. I am off tomorrow on assignments, not actually on vacation, doing work-related things, just not on the show tomorrow. Chris Mack will be filling in, so make sure I'll be back Thursday. Make sure you check Chris Mack out tomorrow on You Better You Bet. Couple news items to get in. Devin Bush, Chicago Bears linebacker, apparently, quote, blew up wide receiver Luther Burden at the goal line today. And Luther Burden walked off the field under his own power, but was helped by Caleb Williams and Tyreek Stevenson. Cut Devin Bush. Why are you blowing up Luther Burden? What the hell is that? Also, Zay Flowers assigned a contract extension with the Baltimore Ravens that will pay him up to $108 million guaranteed. I'm a little skeptical on Zay Flowers. I know a lot of people believe if it's ever going to happen for Zay Flowers, it'll be this year with Declan Doyle calling the offense. All right, let's give you a couple of bets for tonight in baseball. Laura, please drop the dope-ass beat. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that Parlay Boost token from BetMGM. I want to do the rock routine, shine it up real nice, and you know what to do with it. But no, we're going to take the Parlay Boost token, and we're going to add a parlay wager to my bet slip. And I'm going to activate DAT token. DAT. The parlay. Tonight, the Yankees will win after last night's disaster. Ryan Weathers on the mound. Minus 200 against the Cardinals, with everyone's favorite house elf Dobbins starting for the Cardinals, JK's brother. Give me the Yankees minus 200, and we are going to pair the Yankees with the Seattle Mariners minus 135 against the Detroit Tigers. Have a feeling that the Seattle Mariners are going to start playing better baseball. I think the Mariners will end up winning the American League West. So a Yankees-Mariners 2-team parlay at BetMGM, about plus 161. Use that token and see what the odds get you. I'm off tomorrow. Chris Mack will fill in. I'll talk to everybody on a Thursday. Until then, I am Nick Kostos, wishing all of you minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck. Our good pals, Black and Abdallah, are coming up next on Westwood One Sports.